Mornings in Lagos were loud. Car horns, distant calls, the rush of power and ambition. But inside the Adebayo mansion, mornings were quiet. Not peaceful, just controlled. Amara stood at the dining table, arranging plates with steady hands. White porcelain, gold rims. Everything in this house reminded you who mattered. She wore a simple cotton dress, no jewelry, no makeup, just calm. Amara, Madame Nola's voice cut through the room. She didn't look up, only pointed at the table. The spoon is misplaced. Amara adjusted it without a word. No explanation, no protest. Narrator. Some people bow their heads not because they are weak, but because they are waiting. Amara was married into this wealthy family 6 months ago. On paper, she was a wife. In reality, she was tolerated. And the one who made sure she never forgot her place was her sister-in-law, Liana. Liana was elegance wrapped in confidence, designer clothes, perfect smile, sharp eyes. She watched Amara quietly, not with curiosity, but calculation. At breakfast, Liana laughed lightly. "Mom, someone asked me yesterday, where exactly did Amara come from?" Madame Nola paused. Amara froze. "I mean," Liana continued sweetly, "we never really talk about her past." Silence. Amara slowly lifted her eyes. This was how it always began. When people don't know your story, they invent one. Before we continue, if you enjoy emotional stories where truth unfolds slowly and silence speaks louder than words, subscribe now, because this story is only beginning.
The whispers didn't start loudly. They never do. They moved through hallways, phone calls, afternoon teas. She's too quiet. She married above her level. Girls like her know how to pretend. Liana never said these things directly. She smiled while others spoke. At a family lunch, one aunt leaned in. "She doesn't even dress like a proper wife." Liana sighed. "Maybe she's adjusting." That word spread fast. Adjusting. As if Amara was unfinished. Amara heard everything, but she said nothing. At night, she sat by the window, watching city lights flicker. Her husband, Kola, noticed her silence. "You're quiet lately." She smiled softly. "I'm always quiet." He didn't press. Some men don't ask questions because answers might disturb their comfort. The lies grew thicker. Someone said Amara married for money. Someone else said her family background was suspicious. And Liana made sure those lies reached the right ears. Amara remained calm, but calm doesn't mean untouched.
One evening, Madame Nola called Amara aside. "People are talking," she said plainly. Amara nodded. "I know. You should explain yourself." Amara lifted her eyes. "What would you like me to explain?" Madame Nola frowned. "Your past, your intentions." Amara took a deep breath. "If I speak now, you won't hear me." The older woman stared at her. "What does that mean?" Amara bowed her head. "Nothing, Ma." She walked away. That night, Amara cried quietly in the bathroom, not from anger, from isolation. The hardest pain isn't insult. It's being misunderstood in a room full of people. Meanwhile, Liana watched from a distance, satisfied. Or so she thought.
Liana's jealousy wasn't loud. It was strategic. She noticed how the staff respected Amara, how the guards greeted her kindly, how neighbors smiled when they saw her. Respect annoyed her more than praise. One afternoon, she confronted Amara directly. "You're very good at acting humble," Liana said. Amara looked up. "I'm not acting." Liana smiled thinly. "Just be careful. This family doesn't forgive mistakes." Amara met her gaze calmly. "I don't plan to make any." That calm unsettled Liana, because people who fear exposure often fear silence the most.
It happened on a hot afternoon. Liana collapsed in the living room. Pain, confusion, panic. She was pregnant, and something went wrong. Madame Nola screamed for help. Servants froze. Phones slipped from shaking hands. No driver, no doctor answering. Amara rushed forward. She didn't hesitate. She held Liana's hand. "Stay with me." She tore her own scarf to stop the bleeding, called emergency services, gave clear instructions. At the hospital, Amara filled forms, paid deposits, never left Liana's side. The doctor later said, "Another 10 minutes and we would have lost her." Liana survived, and when she woke up, the first face she saw was Amara's. Sometimes God places your life in the hands of the person you tried to destroy just to teach you what grace looks like.
After the hospital incident, Liana stayed in bed recovering. Everyone thought she would be grateful. But the whispers didn't stop. They only changed tone. "Do you think she planned this?" an aunt whispered to Madame Nola. "She always looks calm, too calm." At dinner, Liana sat quietly, her face pale, but her mind racing. She watched Amara help a servant with a broken chair, tidy the table, and smile politely at everyone. Every act, simple as it was, seemed to draw respect away from Liana. That night, Liana's jealousy turned sharper. She began sending subtle messages to relatives and neighbors. "Amara is clever. She makes herself needed everywhere. Watch closely." Amara heard bits of conversation but stayed silent, sipping her tea quietly in her room. When Kola asked, "Are you okay?" she smiled faintly. "Yes, just tired from the hospital." But inside, she was already planning how to survive the next round of lies and manipulation.
Liana could not hide her envy. She made small mistakes and blamed them on Amara. A broken vase, missing documents, misplaced keys. Each time she whispered to other family members, "Amara must have done this." Madame Nola's patience was thinning. She called Amara aside one afternoon. "People are saying things again," she said. Amara tilted her head. "I've heard," she replied softly. Instead of defending herself, she waited. And then Liana fainted unexpectedly while cleaning a high shelf. The family panicked. Amara, without hesitation, ran to catch her, support her weight, and call for help. She stayed with Liana until the doctor arrived, guiding everyone on what to do. Even when Liana regained consciousness, Amara remained calm, caring, and steady. Liana's face twisted with confusion. She had tried to ruin this girl's reputation, and now the same girl had saved her life. After the hospital incident, the family started questioning what really happened. Some relatives whispered, "Maybe Amara isn't what we thought." Amara quietly helped with household chores, hosted guests, and even arranged flowers in the garden. She did not boast or remind anyone of her deeds. Kola noticed the change in family behavior. "They respect you more now." "Quietly," he said. Amara smiled faintly. Respect earned quietly lasts longer than applause. Liana tried to spread new rumors about her, but the family hesitated to believe her. They had seen Amara's actions with their own eyes, and slowly Liana's influence began to shrink.
Amara's small acts of kindness started having big effects. A neighbor praised her for organizing the hospital visit for Liana. The servants whispered that she treated everyone equally, never showing favoritism. During family gatherings, people watched Liana fume silently as Amara quietly managed everything. Madame Nola no longer looked at her with doubt,
but with cautious respect. Even Cola's friends began complimenting her tact and patience. And through it all, Amara never raised her voice. Her silence was her power. Liana grew desperate. She tried to provoke her during tea time. "Maybe you should do something useful for once," she sneered. Amara simply smiled. "I already am," she replied softly, pouring tea. The room fell quiet. Liana did not know how to respond.
For the first time, some family members quietly started questioning Liana's intentions. "Why are we so quick to believe her lies?" one aunt whispered. "She may be clever, but she only caused harm to Amara," said another. Liana's face tightened as she realized her jealousy was no longer invisible. Amara kept helping everyone, never pointing fingers, never defending herself. Her calm and kindness were slowly turning the family's perception. That evening, she returned to her room, closing the door softly behind her. She looked at herself in the mirror and whispered, "Patience is the strongest weapon." Outside, Liana's whispers were growing weaker. Inside, Amara's influence was silently becoming unstoppable.
The next morning, the mansion felt different. Whispers moved more quietly now, but tension hung thick in the air. Liana sat at the breakfast table, glaring at Amara. "Do you always have to be perfect?" she snapped, sharp enough to make everyone pause. Amara calmly poured tea for everyone. "Yes, I try," she said softly. The servants exchanged glances. Even the maids were noticing Liana's tone more than usual. Madame Nola watched quietly, noticing Liana's frustration. "Liana, enough," she said softly. "Stop speaking like that." Liana's eyes darted around the room, seeking allies, but this time no one joined her. Amara continued her breakfast, acting as if nothing had happened, but inside she felt a subtle shift. The family was starting to see the truth. Her patience, her calmness, her sincerity.
That afternoon, Liana tried a new tactic. She went to the neighbor's house, spreading whispers again about Amara. "She only married for money. You'll see soon," she said, voice sweet but sharp. The neighbor paused. "But she saved you from that hospital incident. She risked herself for you," someone replied. Liana's face turned red. No, I mean, she might just be acting," she said quickly, trying to maintain control. Word spread back to the mansion. Family members quietly questioned Liana's honesty for the first time. Even Madame Nola began to notice the inconsistency between Liana's words and Amara's actions. Amara, unaware of every detail, continued helping in the house. She organized schedules, helped with errands, and even arranged flowers in the hall. By evening, even Cola commented, "You've changed how the whole family behaves. People respect you without even realizing it." Amara smiled faintly. "Respect isn't loud. It grows quietly."
Days passed, and every attempt by Liana to discredit Amara began to fail. At a family dinner, Liana made a snide remark about the household staff. Amara calmly addressed it, correcting the mistake without humiliation. The staff looked at Liana, confused and disappointed. Even some relatives started whispering to each other, questioning Liana's intentions. Later that night, Liana confronted Amara in private. "You're too quiet. You don't fight back," she hissed. Amara looked her in the eye. "Some battles are won with words, but some are won with patience." Liana stepped back, unsure how to respond. Amara returned to her room, closing the door softly behind her. She sat by the window, looking out at the city lights, and whispered, "Let them see who I really am in time." The following morning, Madame Nola called her daughters-in-law to breakfast. "Liana, your attitude toward Amara has been noticed," she said sternly. Liana froze, realizing for the first time that the family had begun to see through her jealousy. Meanwhile, Amara quietly served breakfast, pouring tea, arranging plates, her calmness commanding more attention than any argument ever could. A cousin whispered, "She doesn't even complain, and yet she does everything perfectly." Another relative nodded. "Yes, I think we underestimated her." Even Cola's younger brother said softly, "She has changed the energy in this house. Everyone notices." Liana's face tightened. Every whisper now reminded her that her influence was shrinking.
That afternoon, a minor crisis hit the mansion. A small fire broke out in the kitchen. Smoke filled the air, servants panicked, and chaos spread quickly. Amara immediately took charge. She guided everyone safely out, grabbed the fire extinguisher, and coordinated with the staff to control the situation. Once it was under control, Madame Nola looked at Amara with awe. You handled this flawlessly." Cola approached, shaking his head. "I don't know how you stay so calm. You saved everyone." Even Liana, standing silently, couldn't find a word. She looked at Amara, realizing for the first time that no matter what lies she spread, her actions could never match Amara's grace and competence. Amara walked to her room after everything settled. She closed the door behind her and sat on the bed quietly. No celebration, no words of triumph, just a calm smile. The family had begun to see her as more than a quiet girl. Slowly, her silent power was impossible to ignore.
The mansion was unusually quiet that morning. Family members no longer whispered lies. Instead, they asked questions. "Amara, how did you handle the kitchen fire so calmly?" an aunt asked. "I've faced worse situations before," she said simply, smiling faintly. Even Liana noticed how everyone seemed to admire her now. "She's just too composed," Liana muttered under her breath, frustration building. During breakfast, Cola leaned over. "You've changed the way the house functions. People respect you now, even those who doubted you." Amara nodded politely. "Respect grows slowly, but it lasts." Liana clenched her fists under the table. No words, only anger and disbelief.
Over the next few days, the family's behavior toward Amara subtly changed. She was invited to help with family decisions. Her opinions were considered. Even Madame Nola started including her in conversations she had previously ignored her in. Liana tried to undermine her at every opportunity, but it no longer worked. Amara's actions were too visible. Her calmness, kindness, and competence were impossible to ignore. During one afternoon tea, Liana made a sarcastic comment about household management. Amara simply smiled and explained the correct procedure. The relatives looked at Liana, confused and slightly embarrassed. For the first time, Liana realized the family was quietly taking Amara's side. Liana's jealousy reached a breaking point. She tried everything, whispering rumors, creating minor accidents, even trying to publicly embarrass Amara. But nothing worked. Amara remained calm. Every time Liana tried to attack, Amara's grace only highlighted her own pettiness. One evening, Liana confronted Amara in the hallway. "You're ruining everything. People are starting to like you more than me." Amara looked at her unwavering. "People see what they want to see. You can't force their respect, but it will come to those who deserve it." Liana's voice faltered. She had no retort. For the first time, she understood. She was losing control. Amara's influence in the mansion kept growing. The staff no longer feared her. The family no longer doubted her. Even neighbors whispered praise about her composure and kindness. During a family dinner, Cola's mother commented openly, "Amara, I've seen how you handle everything. I respect your patience and wisdom." Liana sat in stunned silence. She had spent months trying to ruin Amara, but every effort had only strengthened her reputation. Amara simply smiled and thanked her politely. No boasting, no pride, just calm, quiet strength. For the first time, Liana realized she had underestimated the quiet girl she had tried to humiliate. One afternoon, Liana came to Amara's room quietly. I owe you an apology," she said, hesitating. Amara looked up, calm and composed. "I didn't expect it," she said softly. Liana's eyes welled up. "I was jealous. I said things about you that weren't true. I tried to ruin you." Amara nodded slowly. "Everyone has their moments. What matters is what you do next." For the first time, Liana realized that Amara had won, not with words, not with revenge, but with patience and grace. That evening, the mansion felt different. A new respect had entered the house, and for the first time, Liana didn't know how to act. Amara had silently claimed her place. The girl they never took seriously had become the one everyone looked up to. It was a quiet evening. The mansion glowed softly under the Lagos sunset. The family gathered in the living room, an unusual tension in the air. Madame Nola finally spoke, her voice steady. "Amara, we need to speak about everything." Liana shrank in her seat, guilt written all over her face. The lies she spread, the whispers, the small sabotages, all now seemed meaningless. Kola took Amara's hand gently. "You've shown patience, grace, and strength when we least deserved it." Amara nodded softly. "I only did what was right." Madame Nola turned to Liana. "And you, what do you have to say for yourself?" Liana's eyes filled with tears. I was jealous. I lied. I tried to ruin her, but she didn't retaliate. She helped me when I needed it most. Her voice broke. Silence filled the room. Amara approached her quietly. "It's okay. What matters is that we move forward." For the first time, Liana realized that her envy could not touch Amara's integrity. The next day, life in the mansion felt different. No whispers, no jealousy, no doubt. Amara's calm strength had changed the family. Even Liana learned to respect her, finally understanding that true power does not need to shout. Kola's father nodded approvingly. "She has earned her place in this family, not with words, but with actions." Amara smiled quietly. She had never sought revenge, never sought applause. Her patience, kindness, and dignity had spoken louder than any lie or attempt to humiliate her. That evening, Amara stood by the balcony, watching the city lights. A soft breeze brushed her face. She whispered to herself, "Some victories are silent, but they echo forever." And with that, the mansion finally understood. The girl they once ignored had quietly, gracefully, and irrevocably become their strongest pillar.